G'day guys, welcome to another episode of Gray's Builds. This time we're back working on the 200 series, doing a couple of mods. This video is going to be the fitment of the Moonlight stainless steel airbox, replacement airbox. Alright, this is the Moonlight stainless steel airbox made by a company in Western Australia. Moonlight stainless four-wheel drive performance. I'll put a link to the description. This is the replacement airbox. Heavy duty stainless steel. Comes with some piping and ducting. Really nice stainless steel entry pipe with a place to hook up the MAF sensor. Some really comprehensive instructions, so I'll be showing you those as we go and following them because I want to make sure it does it right. This replaces the standard plastic airbox, which are known to have some leaking issues. This vehicle has done very little off-road work. However, I have noticed a very light layer of dust inside the intake, so it's not sealing very well. And in the next video we'll also be hooking up a Safari R-Max Snorkel to the new airbox. But let's start with the airbox replacement today. As I mentioned before, they've written some very comprehensive instructions on how to fit it. So let's get started. Start by unclipping the MAF sensor wiring, which is over here, and start undoing the airbox. Because we're in the middle of the wet season in the Northern Territory, I'm going to have to turn my fans on out here. It's so hot at the moment, so humid. I'll do some voiceover in editing because you won't be able to hear me over the fan. This is the light dusting I'm talking about. I haven't cleaned this since I bought the car, and the car's done 180,000 k's on it now, so it's only light, but it's still bad enough. Next step is to remove the MAF sensor from the old intake. Just 2 Phillips screws. Don't drop them in your engine bay. I'm only doing this over the engine bay so that I don't have to reposition the camera. The instructions, again, very good. You do get replacement screws, however they don't have washers on them. I don't like not having washers on things, so I'm going to get some new washers. because in part 2 I'm also going to be replacing or installing the Snorkel, I'm also going to remove the secondary battery. Because we're going to have some leads floating here from this battery, I'm going to disconnect both batteries. It's smart anyway. It's always a good opportunity when you've got things pulled apart. Have a quick look around, see if there's anything obvious. Wearing, you can see a lot more. Look for leaks, look for cracks. Check the condition of your hoses. Check the condition of your wiring looms. Make sure nothing's rubbing. Says you also need to flatten down this end of this bracket because it's moving to here. So that's this bracket here. Unclip, move down the wiring loom, flatten only the end of this bracket and move to the top position hole here. Okay, from the instructions, I need to take 2 of the rubber bushes from the original airbox and bolts. And install them on this bracket. That's the new bracket. And the 3rd rubber bush goes into this new bracket. Because I'm going to be using or installing a Safari Armex Snorkel at the same time as this installation, if you're using the original air intake over here, they also provide you with a foam tape which needs to go on the inside here to give a good seal to the airbox inlet. Because I'm installing the Safari Armex, the instructions say to add in the foam tape on this bracket so that foam tape sits between the stainless steel bracket and the stainless steel airbox. Okay, now I've got the foam tape attached to the top side of the bracket. Install the bracket into the original mounting locations for the airbox. Hopefully you can see there the bracket provides a flat surface for the airbox to sit on. It also provides protection for the wiring loom that runs underneath. This is where things deviate a little bit from the instructions. I'm now going to install the Safari Armax Snorkel and then come back to continue the input. I'm just pointing up to the link where it's going to be to the Armax installation. Because the fan noise is pretty loud at the moment, I'll just do a bit of voiceover here. I'm just talking about the Safari Armax boot is now installed, and this bracket goes above it. It uses one of the original mounting bolts from the airbox and the grommet, another really nicely laser cut stainless steel bracket, and it just bolts in above that intake. Just trial fitting the new airbox into the Safari Armax rubber boot. Once I'm happy with the position and all the the holes line up, I'm going to slide the hose clamp over the boot so that it's in position ready to go, and then I'm going to apply a little bit of a light layer of sensor safe silicone to the intake. That's very important if you're ever going to be doing water crossings, that you silicone seal up the snorkel and all of the associated piping into the airbox. I always use a little bit of Loctite 243 whenever installing into these. Although the brackets are rubber mounted, they still shake and rattle, especially over corrugated roads. So it's always a good idea to use Loctite 243 just to make sure that the screws don't rattle out. Now that I've completed the project and looking at the footage, I'm actually going to go back and put a light smear of silicone underneath those stainless steel washers as well, just to make sure that the airbox is completely sealed if water is in the engine bay. Not that I'm likely to do any deep water crossings, but again, if you take the time to seal it up properly with the snorkel boots, etc., then why not make sure that the screws are actually sealed as well. just applying a light smear of rubber grease here just to make sure that the bottom edge of the filter is sealed well to the airbox. This convoluted duct was a little bit of a bugger to get on, but get there eventually. Again, in hindsight, watching this footage, now that I've completed the job, I'll go back and put another light smear of rubber on the intake side of the seal on top of the air cleaner as well. I guess that's probably more important in a lot of ways than the bottom side. So that's a bit of a hint. Put a little smear of rubber grease on the top edge as well. So that's the completed installation. Obviously the battery's still got to go back in yet, but there's no point in filming that. Very, very happy with the standard of the kit. It just bolts in exactly where it should. The fit and finish is incredible. It does give you a little bit more space on the side of the airbox, but obviously you need to check over all of your fittings to make sure they're all sealed well. The airbox actually uses a Chef Duramax 6.6 litre intake, so it's a much larger filter, it's a much larger surface area, and it actually, in testing, provides a much finer filtration down to much smaller micron, I don't know the exact figure, than the standard Toyota filter. The Toyota filter does allow a small amount of dust through, even when your airbox is sealing perfectly. But again, I'm really, really pleased with the installation. It's not a cheap airbox. It's, I think, around about $1,100 Australian plus delivery. But it is fully Australian made, and I try and support Australian businesses where I can. I was just explaining that $1,100 is pretty cheap when you compare that to an engine rebuild or replacement, which is about $25,000, $26,000 Australian. So this hopefully will cure all of the Toyota dusting issues. Bloody hot here in Australia, in the top end that is. Stinking hot, wet season at the moment, but everything is growing like nothing else. You can see Boris over there waiting patiently for work. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Please like, share and subscribe if you got something out of it, and we'll see you next time.